Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1.5 EU Championship, where today for the Mexican Grand Prix qualifying is underway. 7 minutes on the clock, still plenty of time for drivers to set their laps. Elwain topping the times, the only driver to be in the 15s right now. Terence is yet to set a timed lap on the board, but the championship challenger is definitely giving it a good shot and did a pretty good job yesterday as well, so we know that they have got pace. Across the line they go again, and a 15.4 is their next best effort. A lovely improvement indeed. Yellowek trying to make it once again to the front row for the I don't know how many times in a row, and I think they have a good chance of getting the job done. It's not going to be easy though, that is for sure. There we go with Yellowek around the final corner, up to the line. What's it going to be? They're on another lap, so they've done a warm-up lap on that tyre, and now they're going once more all the way down to turn 1, turning the battery on this time to try and improve. Currently in the championship standings, Elwain 10 points ahead of Terence. What we're staring at right now. And that is the last result included. Bit of understeer there for Yellowek, unfortunately, as they come through the middle part of the circuit. The double right hander really flicking that wheel to try and find the grip, but a bit too much rotation has ruined that lap. Unfortunately, with Yanordi having the DNF last time around and not making it to today's race due to a new PC setup issue, it does mean it's going to be a double non-point scoring result. They did win the sprint race in Brazil, so they did score some points last weekend, but they are going to miss out big time overall, and that is going to be a hard hit. Cravato in the meantime, a 16.0, they put themselves into provisionally P2. Mark Tunick sat in P4. They've got one lap on this tyre already. 4.5 minutes to go on the clock. There is the pit lane found for the Williams driver, as it is going to be, well, I want to say Terence, because it's about time they come out to try and set a lap time. And they've got some progress to make. We're on round 10 at the moment. We've got 5 races, including this one, to go in the season. And Terence has got to make 10 points on their teammate to win the title here in F1.5 for the EU Championship. It's not going to be easy, but with the form that they've got, they definitely can get the job done. They can't take each race for granted though. That's 5 races, 4 points for a win over P2. You have to do that 3 times. They've got 3 out of 5 chances to win the race and hope that their teammate finishes in second place. That's just to lead the championship. Then they've got to try and secure it. It is going to be one hell of a battle. I think both drivers are up to the task. Elwain has an extra race distance of experience from yesterday, and they had some battling in it as well. They got used to the tyres. Now Terence for sure is the tyre whisperer. They are known by that name. But experience is king, and Elwain might just have that advantage. So that race from yesterday will be everything. You can gain knowledge, but if you don't know exactly how that tyre is going to feel at a certain point in the race, you might miss out. Has Terence done their homework in the meantime? Well, I'm sure they've given it a good shot. Here we go into the kind of chicane looking thing, the second chicane of the circuit. Very easy to get wrong with the high curves and the low grip. They managed to get through nicely, controlling the revs in second gear. And now the S section upcoming, really hard on the tyres, especially when you get to the later part of the stint. Now this is going to look like it's possibly Terence's only lap. They might have another go, but it's going to be difficult. DRS open down the final straight. Heavy braking into the stadium section. Send it over the sausage curb on the inside as you can do, and then hope the rotation kicks in. See if the tyre does grip up. The final corner upon them now. Is it going to be enough? Can they keep it tidy up to the line? Terence, what's it going to be? And it's provisional pole right off the bat, a 14.907. Absolutely perfect. And there has to be a response from this man right here. They've just got one sector to go to prepare themselves for the final moment that may make the difference. Now 1.5 minutes. It's not impossible that Terence could go again, but they're going to have to do a lot of saving, and they're going to be on a used tyre, so it might not be worth it. It's going to be a tall order, 5 to 6 tenths to be gained by Elwain here in this final moment. There is Isaac on track to P3. A brilliant job there to get themselves up the order. Still a way off P2, however. Cravato trying to put another improvement lap in. Yellow X still yet to find that front row. They are using the battery, so this is their final lap, but they've made the mistake in the same complex of corners once more. Just trying to flick that wheel a bit too hard, and the rear comes round on them. As the grip is low, the downforce is low for many drivers as well. At least it was yesterday. And you can just see it on the rear end. It's slippy. Into the final stadium section they will go. Going purple relative to the car ahead of them. But what can they do for the rest of the field? Navigating their way through. And here it is. The moment of truth. What they've been waiting for. They pull to the right hand side to minimise track distance, just keeping it valid. A 3/10 improvement to P3, a 15.942. It's just in front of Isaac on track, and they should stay ahead of Isaac. That's going to be a very good job. Terence does not go again. It's the pit lane for the driver from Hong Kong. Oh, and it's Elwain pushing to the limit. Absolutely incredible. Is it going to happen for them? They're looking quick. They're looking very quick. The final corner. What's it going to be for the Brit, the championship leader? Oh, and they just don't get it in the end. 2 tenths improvement, but still 3 tenths away. Still absolutely incredible from Elwain. Just not enough. That's Yellowek finding the wall on their in-lap. Unfortunately, it's been a struggle, but they just missed out on the front row in the end. There's Cravato. It's Patrick to P3. Absolutely incredible from the brand new driver in the Haas car. Very good job, a 15.692. Cravato has invalidated their lap. Unfortunately, it will be over for them. That is how it goes sometimes in qualifying. It is Terence on pole position. Elwain in P2. Once again, a front row lockout for the Red Bull pair. And Yellowek does now get demoted to the final spot on the second row of the grid. It's going to be their lowest start for a little while now. Mark, unfortunately, experiencing some game lag. That would maybe explain why they're a lot further down the order than we'd usually see them. Had a brilliant podium, I think in Australia it was. Driving the wrong car, only unfortunately driving the Haas instead of the Williams that they were supposed to be driving. But they did prove that day that they could compete for that podium spot. And yeah, looks like it's going to be a bit of a tricky one. That's qualifying done. Terence in P1, it's Elwain in P2 and Patrick in P3. The race director is on your screen now, and we will be back in a bit for the race. Ready. Hold. Go! Who's going to get it into time one? A brilliant start from Owain on the inside. And they convert it to the first position immediately. Terrence tucks back in. Can they come back into the first corner? It's a bit too far away. Side by side, it's Firth. No, Yellowek P3. It's right to the inside for Jericho Willis. The McLaren racy already. They're surely going to have to back out. Oh, the Haas is round. Patrick loses the car. I don't know quite what happened. I don't think there was contact. They just made a mistake, it seems. Everybody continues now in a single file line as they were. Now, the good news is to Patrick, this middle sector will slow the group of cars up and they will be able to catch back up. The bad news is it's going to be a bit of a difficult task and they're going to struggle. They've got basically half a lap to catch up again, just so they can maybe have a look at getting that DRS. Other than that, it's going to be a long day. It was Elwain leading the way from the start, absolutely flying, did a very good job. Do we see the soft tyres? No, everybody on the medium tyre. So Elwain just got a brilliant start. I don't know what happened to Terrence, but they were ghosted for a second. So some sort of lag maybe occurred. But considering what just happened, I think they probably just absolutely nailed it. Elwain leads the way on the first lap. Terrence is quick in a straight line, it seems. They've got no DRS, but they were very close, and they are enjoying it as well. That's Mike Tunick looking to the outside. They then do tuck back in and don't bother going for the move. They've got the higher tier driver of the of Jericho Willis directly in front of them, and welcome for the first time in LSI the pink Racing Ball livery. We haven't seen that so far. Absolutely astonishing. How about that? Welcome back 2020. Welcome back Racing Point. Hopefully none of these drivers have got COVID. Elwain leads the way. Terrence just watching behind now. They're going to get their first dose of DRS. And that is going to be incredibly useful. Well, they've just had their first dose of DRS, but this is going to be the main overtaking opportunity. Terrence is going to get the first shot of the day. And here's how it's going to look. Lots of fastest laps being traded as we saw yesterday. Terrence not quite able to do anything in a straight line. There's battery for both drivers. Blasted for the second Red Bull, now making it the first Red Bull. That is P1. A lovely move, quite straightforward with the battery. Everybody else has it a little bit more complicated. It was a move though from Jericho Willis on Isaac on track, who is now P5. They've got Mark Tunick to answer to directly behind if they are to be in any battles. Gravato staying with the pack. Of course, as we see Verth as well. Patrick's got a little bit of work to do still. They're managing the gap, maintaining it nicely, but it's just a bit tricky. And they can't do too much more about it. There's still a long way to go in this race, and they should not give up. They can see the cars directly in front. Terrence controls the pace. The two Red Bulls. Look at a bit of a split here. That's a yellow. That's Mark Tunick. Is that going to be a safety car? That's full front wing damage. We did see a safety car for full front wing damage on Elwain's car yesterday. But this time around, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And Mark Tunick has got to try and do something else with the strategy here. Luckily, you can do 2 stops around this circuit. It just can be a little bit tricky if you do so, and maybe not the fastest. It's not impossible, however. So we'll see. Still opportunities here for Mark Tunick if they want to take it. Now, Owain back into P1. Taking it away once more. Wanting to control the pace, I'd assume. Now, we did explain yesterday, if you do sit in P2, although it's not quite related to real life, you can save your tyre wear by sitting in the dirty air of another car. However, by being at the front of the pack, you can control the pace. Unless you're the fastest car, then everybody just tries to chase you down. But you can control the pace. That's preventing any car behind you from getting clean air and maybe breaking away. Oh, and Terence makes a big mistake, and that is almost DRS lost. They've just about done enough. I think they just crossed the line before it was gone. Where's the DRS? Is it on? It's not. And here comes Yellowegg. Yellowegg's too far away. No DRS for Terence. Yellowegg does gain a lot, but it's Jericho Willis who's looking to have a go on the Sauber. No, they just about miss out. Yellowegg was not able to capitalise on the mistake from Terence. 8 tenths now to 7. That was a big gain there for Terence. I think they may have had to use a bit of battery, but maybe they're just quick in a straight line. I'm not entirely sure. Elwain probably finding a bit of confidence now, and 4 points would do them nicely in the championship. Very nicely indeed. That is Jericho Willis down the order by 2 positions. And I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but they lost out big time. Verf is right in front of them and now trying to chase down Isaac on track. 30 seconds away, Mark Tunick after making that pit stop. Cravato's had an issue as well, but they're now in battles with Patrick 014. Another mistake there for Jericho Willis, just not enjoying that front end grip, the medium tyre. Definitely is going to struggle around this circuit. Very heavy on tyre wear as Mexico City. I think that might have been once again no DRS. Maybe Terence has just got it this time. There's the overtake from Verf. And in the background we see Patrick also make the move on the Ferrari of Cravato. But is that DRS for the second red ball in the train? No, there's not. So just quick in a straight line is Terence. Using a bit more battery once more. Not really any available for Elwain, so they are pushing and trying to keep Terence out of it. Yellowegg, although being 9 tenths away, they did gain back once again up towards Terence, but they weren't in a position to overtake, despite that driver not having the DRS open. This time around, I think Terence might have it. This final stadium section seems to be where... Oh, that's a little bit of an extension. And they're not going to be able to get away with that too many times. But as you can see, Terence has gained massively now. Not quite so strong of a final complex of corners. Now on lap 7, the question is what the strategy is going to be. Are we going to see some 2 stops? Are we going to see a 1 stop from a few? I know this man's going to do a 1 stop, that's for sure. They now go to P1 to try and control the race once more. Yellowegg sits in P3 of this train and wasn't really able to compete with the DRS games that were being played up in front. And do they have DRS themselves? They don't. So Verf is going to be on the attack to try and get that move done sooner rather than later. Isaac on track is racing with Jericho Willis, but not able to make that move just then. Patrick now to 7th place in this race. 2 seconds behind the cars in front as they continue to match that, but they have managed to make 2 positions in the meantime as well. Cravato, of course, in P8 as they just started to drop away from the pack, and Mark Tunick having that issue. That is Jericho Willis getting a time penalty as they continue to push and they try and find a way to get towards the battle that's happening with their old rival Verf and Yellowegg, who is actually driving Verf's main car in the F1 tier. ERS fully available, DRS is going to be blasted. I think this is going to be a pretty straightforward overtake. What are we seeing? What are we seeing? Terence is in the pit lane on lap 8 out of 36 to go onto a set of hard tyres. Surely that's got to be a 2-stop strategy. Surely that's not a 1-stop. That's absolutely astonishing. I do not believe what I'm seeing right now. The one driver that I would expect to see do a one-stop strategy has gone and done exactly the opposite. We might even see them pit for a set of intermediates. Corrado gets the second time penalty of this race. Elwain leads the way. They started the race yesterday on a hard tyre, and it worked out for them quite nicely. They then did start to drop away towards the end. But they've now gone for the opposite strategy. They lead by 2 seconds over Verf. Verf breaks away, now pushes towards the Red Bull car. These guys raced against each other yesterday. Verf, another driver, on a very different strategy to the rest of the field. But now, once again, as Elwain is, on the same strategy as everybody else. Or similar, as we see now Terence changing. They've got 7 seconds to catch to Cravato. That's going to be plenty of clean air that they can cut through to then get this severe undercut and try and make this aggressive strategy work. 1.8 seconds Verf is closing in. And now Jericho Willis is up next to try and get past Yellowek. Of course, fighting for different things in this championship. Jericho Willis and Verf being higher tier drivers, they score a different point system. So we're currently looking for the F1.5 EU Championship. Elwain in P1, Yellowek in P2, Isaac on track in P3, and Patrick in P4, and so on. Whereas Verf and Jericho Willis are in P2 and P4 for the overall race. And Jericho Willis looks at making this move. What on earth did we just witness there? I'm assuming that wasn't a defensive manoeuvre. I'm assuming that was more of a communicative manoeuvre. But it was a little bit interesting. It wasn't aggressive weaving. It wasn't a wiggle. I'm not entirely sure how to explain that one. We'll have to see later on what comments are made from Jericho Willis to see how they viewed the situation. Verf on their way to try and take P1. Patrick 2.4 seconds away from Yellowek now, trying to do something about it in this race after the mistake that they made in the opening corners. It's been a difficult one, but it's about the journey, not the final result. It's a bit about the final result, you know, you want those points. But the nice thing to say is that it's about the journey. And there's Verf very close to the back of Elwain, but decides to go into the pit lane. Once again, going for a fairly early pit stop. I think probably an early pit stop by maybe a lap or two. But they could take this tyre to the end. They could. And knowing Verf, they want to try and get their tyre right to that territory of puncture. Now Terence is actually on their way now to catch up to Cravato already. And they might get some other cars on their journey in the end after all. That's one hell of a phrase, in the end after all. I didn't quite expect Terence to be able to catch up before the pit stops came around, but they've done so. They've now got the headache of trying to navigate their way past the driver on a different strategy. Cravato's going to have a hard time here fighting against a better tyre. The question is, do they fight against it or do they back off? They do back off. That's going to be very useful for Terence because they can then use the following corners to break away, prevent the Ferrari from catching up anymore. and then run away with their current strategy. And it's no pit stop still for Cravato. No pit stop for anyone else. But Terence now 5.9 seconds away from Patrick as they continue with the severe undercut. They've got a lot of work to do. Now, doing 2 stops, there is a big risk with the tyre allocation. You do obviously risk getting a late safety car and then being limited on choice with what tyre you go for later on. With just the 1 stop strategy, if there is a late safety car, you can pretty much go on to whatever tyre you want. Not quite the case, but generally, that's what it looks like. Terence is definitely banking on there being no safety car, and considering how things have gone in the past, I don't think that's a bad idea, especially in this scenario. As they send it into the stadium section, as they continue to try and make progress. Elwain pits on lap 13 out of 36, 2 laps later than Verf, and they're surely looking at that 1-stop strategy. It is also Patrick into the pit lane. Verf not leads the way, but puts the fastest lap in of the race. We see Cravato follow accordingly as well. And Mark Tunick, all of a sudden, is a lot closer to the field, and they're back in it. Are they going to overtake Cravato? They will do so. They are P8 in this race. The strategy is on. And yes, the 2-stop is possible. They're going to have to look for the hard tyres to the end of the race, though. In a couple of laps' time, that will be their choice. And it's just going to be qualifying laps to the end. Jericho Willis leads the Grand Prix for the first time. Yellow X got pressure from Terence as they've already arrived to the scene. DRS will help them with that in a few moments' time. Yellow X possibly following the McLaren strategy, trying to do something completely different. Terence almost pushing the Sauber through the corner as they dive into the pit lane, and there will be the move done. Berth goes and puts in another fastest lap as they continue try and push on their net race lead. Well, I say net race lead, that's assuming that Terence is going to... Oh, that was a big snap. Assuming Terence is going to be doing a 2-stop strategy. Check in on how Mark Tunick's doing. Are they experiencing that lag? Is it server side? Is it PC side? Or is it completely gone? Looks okay from our point of view. But that is a Ferrari quickly catching, and what on earth was that send? I don't know where they came from with that one. There's a yellow flag just for a small period. If Cravato slows back down. Catching at a hell of a rate, to be honest. I don't know what's going on with the Williams. Now Cravato's a lot of battery, and they look to make that move. They're going to move to the right-hand side. And it will be quite a straightforward overtake with the DRS. That was a lot easier than into the stadium section. And now they get the double DRS to secure that move down into turn 4. will be theirs. Jericho Willis went into the pit lane. They come out behind Elwain and a little way behind as well, but they do just stay in front of Patrick. And now that's everybody in this race making a pit stop at least at some point in the Grand Prix. But who will go in again and who will stay out? That's the question. Lap 16 out of 36 is started by Terence. The fastest lap is put in by Verf. 18.641. As Verf continues to take chunks out of Terence's lead. Yes, Verf is a higher tier driver, but still it would be nice for Terence to try and get the victory on track. Strategy may say otherwise. Now this is our closest battle. We've got somewhat fresh medium tyres versus very fresh hard tyres. Isaac on track giving it a very good shot, but now the tyre grip will change, shift towards a more advantageous situation for Elwain. And the battery doesn't exactly look complementary to the pace of the Aston Martin. So there it will go. Yellowette gets a 3-second time penalty on lap 16 out of 36. As we saw yesterday, time penalties are very difficult to deal with around this circuit. But it is just going to happen at some point. Elwain putting in the fastest lap of the race there. 18.502 over Verf's 641. That's a very good job there from Elwain on slightly fresher tyres, which just shows the level of grip that you can gain from going just a little bit later on the pit stops. It also shows how powerful the undercut can be and how risky staying out will be for longevity, but also how beneficial it could be if you manage to risk it correctly. .2 seconds. Verf is almost there. They're on the way. Terence leads. DRS not quite available for the Racing Bull. But in their name they do race towards the front once more. And then they look at trying to manage this race. 7.5 seconds in front. It just shows the kind of half distance of what they're currently looking at tyre-wise, 5 laps versus 10 laps between the two teammates. That just shows that 5-lap undercut really was worth it. But 8.6 seconds is what they're looking at. But as you see, that middle sector is where the tyres really matter most. Verf was able to catch up nicely. In the straight sections, not so much. It's a bit more of a setup scenario to gain the pace. But in the high speed and low speed grip dependent parts of the circuit, that's where Verf catches, and that's where Verf looks at making this move back into P1. ERS and DRS, there it is, the top spot on the grid. And Terence, who once raced against Verf in F1.5, watches the higher tier driver charge through. And now they both lead the Grand Prix for their respective tiers. in clean air, Verf has a very, very nice advantage right now. We do have a little train going on with Jericho, Willis, Isaac on track and Patrick. And I will say, it's more looking like Patrick's getting DRS, as Isaac on track continues to struggle with these tyres. That 6-lap old medium now turns to 9 laps, and Patrick finds themselves in a position to attack. Verf leading confidently in clean air, 18.232 is their attempt. That was a close call there for the Haas driver, but they navigate their way through the final corner. DRS and ERS will be available. They're going to swoop through on this straight, or they should do at least. Isaac on track runs out of battery in the middle of the straight, and there it is. The move is made. No, I don't think we'll see Isaac be able to get that position back once more. It's going to be a very tall order to do such a thing. But they will have to do some work to fight with Yellowek potentially. Might be the best interest of their strategy. Not quite the best to keep firmly with the other drivers on track. But they've got to do what they've got to do. And Yellowek, who wants to try and find a way to catch to Patrick, is going to have to push hard. Patrick making that move, and then 3.3 seconds on top. That is a big overspeed moment there for Yellowek as they send it a bit too hard into the corner. They're not punished by it with the grip loss on the Aston Martin. Yellowek doesn't need to make the move. They'll get the free DRS as the Aston dives into the pit lane for their second stop of this race. There it is. The hard compound tyre to the end. Qualifying laps until the flag. That's the task at hand for the Aston Martin. Gravato makes the move. Mark Tunick also on their new tyre. Will bring them a little bit closer to the race from what we saw earlier on. And what we heard was the technical issues going to be a bit tricky. There's the pit stop, there's the second one. Terrence into the pit lane, and they're looking for that hard tyre to take them to the end. They're also looking at a fair few overtakes to get them to the end. Elwain, P2 on track. Terrence has got to overtake Yellowek, Patrick, Jericho Willis and Elwain themselves. That is going to be tricky. Very tricky indeed. On the fresh tyre, they'll definitely have the pace advantage. But it's whether the DRS games will be in their favour. Can they get the moves done quickly? You can see them in the background now already trying to catch up to Yellowek. They find the 2-second range immediately. Almost DRS. Can they find it as they send it into the stadium section? They do so absolutely perfect. And will we see a contest? That's another 3-second time penalty, this time for Mark Tunick. Will we see a contest between the two? DRS being blasted. Is Yellowit going to fight it? It looks like they will. They go to the middle of the circuit. They blast the battery as well. They move to the left of the circuit. Now they can't move again. They do move again. Terrence goes to the outside line. They make their decision. They have the grip. Yellowx never going to be able to fight that one back. They give it their best shot. There's a bit of contact, but they do have to give in. Terrence is through. They'll get that DRS, and they'll say bye-bye to the Sauber. There's no way you're getting this position back. And there it is. P5, 1 done. 3 to go. Although Jericho Willis is looking at catching up and trying to pass Elwain. If that's the case, if that happens, then there's only 2 cars to overtake. If that doesn't happen, it's going to be a bit more complicated. But also, actually, if Jericho Willis does overtake Elwain, Elwain has an opportunity to hold on to DRS of the higher tier driver. That would take them a little longer into this race. It would help them with tyre wear, and it would prevent Terrence from making an overtake if they do catch up to the 2 cars as well. You can see in the background there Patrick. That's Terrence's next target, and they look like they will be able to do that. So they're going to be in the background visibly. You could even see them in the background just for a moment there. There is Jericho Willis into P2. The 2 higher tier drivers are first and second. Elwain leads for the EU drivers. Patrick in P2 on debut, but Terrence is looming. Yellowek there in P6. We've got Cravato, Isaac on track, who's right on the back of them, and they're looking to go side by side down the straight. DRS available. It's not looking so straightforward on the straight, but they eventually get there. There's a lot of battery on that Ferrari. They could have fought that a bit harder if they wanted to, but they didn't do it in the end. Sending it hard on the brakes there was Isaac on track. And Cravato just sees that one go. The grip advantage that Isaac will have is absolutely monumental. It's not really worth getting into any trouble to fight that one. Unless you get to the final 5 laps of the race, then maybe. But in this scenario, it's really not worth it. Elwain holds on right now to the DRS of Jericho Willis, and they'll get a big old toe into the first corner and all the way to turn 4 as well. Another time penalty. This one is for Cravato. And there's that big gain there for Elwain. Going to be in a very good position right now. Looking at the time penalties, it's 3 seconds for everybody that have them, except from Cravato, who's got 6. All the other drivers have none. Verf leads by 8.6 seconds. Jericho Willis on slightly fresher tyres, and that 4 laps could be make the difference between a puncture and not a puncture. Would it make the difference between 8.3 seconds? I'm inclined to doubt it. It's not impossible. We've got about 10 laps remaining of this race now. Elwain still holds on. Patrick in P4, 5.5 seconds away from this battle. And Terrence, 4.0 seconds, making gains. Isaac on track will also be hoping to try and catch up to Yellowek in this situation. 16.2 seconds is a tall order. Terrence has got 9 seconds to catch, which is still going to be tough, but much more possible. Did the 2-stop ruin their chances of victory today? The pole sitter, who didn't get the best launch off the line, now finds himself on lap 26 out of 36. Sat in P3 for the EU drivers, where their teammate and closest rival for the title is leading the way and looking at gaining 6 points on their current 10 points. And with 4 races to go after this one, 16 points is going to be a really tricky one for Terence to gain back. Again, not impossible. Anything can happen, but it will be tricky. Surviving on their own down the straight, Terence has to do everything they can to harvest their own energy. They don't have DRS to gain. Elwain cruising as they get their way cut through by the car of the McLaren directly in front of them. Bit of efficiency in the fuel economy as well, which will be useful. That being said though, on that last lap, Terence did make absolutely mega amounts of progress to catch up to Patrick, and they look at trying to make a move very shortly. Terence just misses out on DRS this time around. Not quite able to get that. Oh, and that's a 3-second time penalty. Track limits just about for Terence. And it continues to strike and hunt down many drivers. Just a tiny slip of grip. And that was it. A little bit more extra work to do. Now they have to dispatch of Patrick as soon as they possibly can. Get in that clean air and just get the outright laps done when they need to. Pulling off to the right hand side to really show that they are there, making Patrick fully aware. Well, turning off the battery is Patrick, but they'll turn it back on as they leave the corner, I'm sure. As they are going to try and defend it, it looks like, using the battery. DRS, ERS available. Here comes Terence, and that's a lot of speed already, and they're still yet to pass. There it is. The move is made. Terence is now in P2 for the EU drivers. It's once more Red Bull 1-2. The DRS will help them maintain that position. There is a very slim chance of Patrick from regaining that one. And now they make the charge with their tyre wear to help them along. Will we see a puncture from Verf in all of this? Will they get to the end of the race? More importantly, will we see Terence catch up to Elwain in front? There's DRS, almost lost. Is Elwain going to be able to do enough in this final complex? They might have just missed it. And there it is, a second margin. It's 50-50 when they go over the line. Is that rear wing going to be open? Lap 31 out of 36 begins. 5 laps remain of Mexico City, and DRS is no longer available for the Red Bull driver. 5.2 seconds. The gap can now plummet. Elwain is going to be at risk as Terence makes their progress. They've got to make just over, well over 1 second per lap, considering the time penalty situation. It's got to be realistically, is that 1.5 seconds? Maybe not quite. Yeah, over 1.5 seconds per lap. And they've already made a fair chunk of it, and they're still yet to go through the S section. This is where they're going to make big progress, massive gains. .5, 4.4, and that will go down to 4.3 as well. The stadium section will kick in. Verf is actually struggling on tyre wear as well in this race. So that 4-lap difference could create a bit of a cluster in P1 as well. And there's 1 second gained by Terence. As they continue, that 19-lap-old tyre will hit a harder cliff as it goes on. So Terence is going to have more of an advantage as they continue in this race, as long as they don't give up. Like 32 to 36, the time counts down. .5 seconds. They continue to make that progress. And at this rate, they will be able to get there on track, I think. But they are going to have to fight pretty hard and hope that maybe, just maybe, Elwain gets a time penalty. Now, Elwain will be crawling around this circuit to make sure that they stay away from danger on the track limits. But it's not impossible. Also, if Terence does make that move, the dirty air will kick in for the first time in a couple of laps for Elwain, and that can be a shock to the system, especially with dead tyres. Look at that. This lap is absolutely insane from Terence so far. 2.4 seconds. They're going to be well over quota on this lap, as they were just under on the previous lap. And they've got the whole stadium section to gain some extra time. Finding the grip on the front, just about to get themselves through the corner. And now they just, I think, get the 1 second range. Do they get there on the traction? They do. It's just within 1 second, or 2 seconds, for Terence. A 1.9. 34 out of 36. We continue. The front two, they'll also have a bit of a ding-dong as well. Jericho Willis with that time penalty is going to be tricky. But we've effectively got a repeat between the higher tier drivers and the current tier teammates. The battle for the EU Championship. catching to DRS. Can they find it in a few corners? They're going to send it. They're going to give it everything. I think they've done it. I think they've just about done it. Is it there? 8/10. There's a yellow in the background. It's not going to bring up the safety car. It's way too late for that now. And there's DRS. There's lots of battery in that Red Bull. And I think we could see it here. Terence looks at making a move into the first corner. They've turned the battery off. They've turned the battery off. They turn it back on for a moment. I don't know. I don't believe it. They move to the outside. They swoop through. Wayne tries to hold on with all of their might. There's going to have to be space, but it's done. Terence in P1. They've got one lap to make it work. Can they do it? There's going to be no DRS. There's going to be no help on Elwayne. It's going to be all out, all the way to the line, and Terence has just got over one lap to make that progress. Can they do it? I think they can. It's going to be difficult. And actually, the Brit holding on in the S's, they're going to get a dose of DRS. I don't think they're going to hold it through the stadium section though. That's going to help them slightly. Will it be just enough? As Mark Tunick, his corner cut, that's going to be a track extension as Terence does everything they can. But Elwayne finding a massive amount of performance in that final sector to hold on to DRS. And Terence goes down the start-finish straight for the final time before the flag. They pull to the right-hand side to prevent any gain of a slipstream for their teammate. They don't have any battery left. They're pushing with all their might, but they've got one final lap here. Jericho Willis, in the meantime, has made that move, and oh, look at it. Absolutely on the limit. Terence giving it everything here for P1. Is it going to happen? There's still half a lap to go for track limits to go wrong. And they're all over the place. I think I know what's happening. Elwayne is going to have their vision blocked by the car in front of them. But are they going to take it easy as they know what can be theirs as long as they don't make any mistakes? Jericho Willis. I don't believe it! I do not believe what I've just seen! Elwayne gets a time penalty in the final half a lap. It's Jericho Willis who crosses the line. It's Verth who will win overall. But for the EU drivers, Terence will defy the odds on a two-stop strategy and win in Mexico as Elwayne finds heartbreak. With just a few corners to go and will miss out. Patrick on the podium on debut. Congratulations. A massive result. Yellowek in P6 scoring points. It's going to be Isaac on track in P7. Not too far away in the end from their rival. And then Cravato in P8. He did a very good job at the beginning of this race. Just wasn't able to hold on for quite so long. One DNF from Mark Tunick earlier on. Verth takes victory. A very good drive from them today. Jericho Willis takes that P2 spot, making massive progress to try and give it a shot. I'm not entirely sure what their AI is doing. Out of all that though, Terence leads and wins. With just a few corners to go, they make 4 points and now they're 6 points away from the championship leader with 4 races to go. I think I've got a bit of a sore throat after that one. It was a shouty one at the end. I just don't know what to say. Verth wins with the fastest lap to boot. It's Jericho Willis in P2 and Terence in P3. Elwayne, Patrick, Yellowek, Isaac on track, Cravato and Mark Tunick will be classed as finished in this race. The race director's on your screen and then we will go through the pit stop section and we'll be back in a bit for the post-race interviews. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Mexican Grand Prix. That was one hell of a race all the way to the end. Terence, we start with you. Qualifying perfect, race start not so much. It all got a bit complicated in the middle. And then at the end, it worked out pretty well on one final lap.
Yes, I mean, it was tiring. Um, okay, pretty exhausted.
I can imagine.
What could I say? I mean, on the race start, of course, the quality is quite well. Nearly my PB, nearly, just not quite there yet. But the quality quite well. But you know, it's Mexico. I should be on P3.
Yeah.
And well, I just push and then suddenly it becomes Poe. So next time for the strategy wise, I should be on P3 instead of P1 in Mexico. On the race start, it's just my average race start. You know, every time my race start before turn one is quite bad, and it got amplified by this circuit. So it's within my expectation actually, and because we collect about Mexico for a lot of data, I think half a year ago, so we know that, or at least I know that two stop should be faster within the same pace or same pure pace for that person, so I go for two stop. No any concern about, just maybe concern about the traffic, and if he didn't react, that should be my win. And I mean, I just get a little bit lost when he keep getting that DRS, because you know suddenly he like drop off 1.8 seconds per lap according to Moss. And then suddenly he just lost about 5 tenths a lap. So it's quite frustrating because the lap is running up. But luckily, when he just get rid of the train and then drop off and into single, so what
On their
my
own?
English is, yeah, on their own. So the time start to close up, and it's eventually I don't know why I could get the DRS on lap 35, but I did, and then overtook him around the outside in turn one. It's a little bit contact, but I think I leave enough space for him,
Yeah.
at least. So it wasn't quite clean as what I did in
It was
Brazil, but
absolutely fine.
yeah, I hope. And but it's quite weird on that second last lap that I can't put out a second at least
Yeah.
to save my last lap. I think he must save some battery for the last little chicanes and the corners, so I can't get rid of that 1 second. But the last lap is just I have no way to do anything else. I just push a little bit more, but I can't because the DRS straight is very long. I try to go to the right side of the track to not give the toe to him.
Yeah.
I try everything, and then the last thing I try is into the axis corner. The last DRS before before the corners before the last DRS, and then I try to give him maximum dirty air, something about 0.4 to 0.5. I can't be too slow because he would just be consecutive. If I maintain the gap about 0.4 to 0.5, I can make sure he would get the maximum dirty air, and then the gap of the between the cars would make him want to push a little bit more to make sure he's win, and eventually it works.
Yeah.
And then he got 3 seconds. a bit lucky, I would say, because if you're a very not emotional driver, I would. You will know you already get a win, and just be cautious, and no matters within 3 seconds, you will get the win. So maybe that's meant to race instead of F1 race.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, you've got to do everything right to put yourself in the position of winning. You did it, and then everything else was just up to the other drivers. You did everything right today. Well done, Terence. It was a very, very good job. It looked like it was one hell of a drive, very difficult to do. You deserve the points. You gain 4, and you are now 6 points away from the championship lead with 4 races to go. Do you think you can do it?
What's the full track remaining?
Saudi, Qatar, Austria, and Abu Dhabi.
I hate Abu Dhabi. That's all that's all my says.
Was that not your debut in LSI? I think Abu Dhabi.
You mean?
In F1.22.
Yes, it's my debut. But
Maybe you'll get some good luck from that. We'll see. Thank you very
I
much.
hope so, but not TV corners and whatever.
It could be a problem. We'll see. Thank you very much, Terence. Really well done today. Very well deserved. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Yellowek. Yellowek, right in the mix at the beginning, but the grip is just super tough. Can you take us through your race and your strategy as well? This circuit just isn't easy at all.
Yes, I can. So I had a very bad time in quali. I started before, and I had a nice start. I gained 1 position. I was pretty fast on a few first laps, first 5 laps. I was really fast, and then I don't know why my pace just dropped, or maybe Red Bulls just became faster. No idea. And yes, I was driving on P3. It was pretty nice, and then Patrick04 overtook me. Then I also saw that Terence will go for 2 stops, so I thought that maybe he will lose on it, and I will be P3 anyway. And I have no idea how did he manage to have such a good pace on his second stint. I undercutted him for 6 laps, and I gained 2 seconds. So that's crazy, and my pace was pretty good on those first laps. Yes, later some Aston, I don't remember driver, he was chasing me. He was on 2-stop strategies, and I had 3 seconds time penalties and 2 warnings, and not equal tire wear on the front and rear axle. So I was trying to save my fronts as much as I could, and it worked. And also I tried to not get any penalties, so my last lap was crazy. So I lost 3 seconds, I think, only to not get another warning. That would be 6 seconds of penalties, and I would lose this before. And yes, I just drove it to the end. I was extremely stressed, and some nice lessons today.
Yeah, a lot to learn, but you got there.
Yeah.
You didn't find the wall. No, that's the most important thing.
Yes, not today.
Yeah, and you finished ahead of Isaac on track, so that is P4 for the EU drivers, so that's pretty good points in the end. Now, the next race, Saudi Arabia, the walls are a lot closer. Is that a circuit that you like?
Bro, that's my favorite track of all. I mean,
So it's a
I
win
don't know
already
if
then?
that's true. It's going to be double win because in F1.5 and in F1.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
And
forgot that one.
just hoping for not breaking my car into turn 4 or turn 21, I think.
Yeah, that's the slight problem with that circuit.
No, but to be honest, I really love that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
going to be a
hope
good
for
one.
some good results.
I can't wait. Thank you very much, Yellowek. Really good effort today, and we'll see you next time round in Saudi. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you next weekend for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. See you then. Bye-bye.